Feed me a little here.
That's what my job is. Okay. Okay. Allinger. Allinger.
Right.
Allinger. Ready, Joe?
Yes.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, April 15th in the year 2004. We're here with our veteran, Edward Charles Allinger, and we are at the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program of Macomb at 15945 Canal Road, Clinton Township, Michigan, 48038. My name is Jim Pachuki, and I'll be the interviewer today. Our videographer today is Joe Remote. Okay, get this started, Ed. Could you kindly tell us how you became involved with the military? Were you drafted, or did you enlist, and where and when?
Well, I was working in Cleveland. I just graduated from high school in 1941, and I went to get a job in Cleveland, and I got a job in the factory, and that was when the war started. And so I thought, well, maybe I better go to school and try to learn a little bit and increase my ability there. So after working for a year at the factory, I enrolled in a college in Berea, Ohio, and from there I then
Which college was it, Joe?
Baldwin Wallace in Berea, Ohio. And a couple of the buddies that I went to school with said, why don't we go join the Navy and see if we can get the Naval Air Corps. And so I said, okay, I'd like that very much. So we had to take the train to Detroit, to the recruiting office there. And we had to pass the physical and all those things.
Was that at Fort Wayne?
No, it was right in Detroit.
Right in Detroit.
The naval, I forgot
the Broderick Armory.
Probably,
yes.
Yeah. And so we, a couple of my buddies and myself, we took our physical there and all the other tests that they had. And I found out that I didn't pass for the naval aviation, but they did recruit us anyway into the Navy. My buddies passed, but I didn't. So anyway, we went back to school, and then that was in October when we joined. And then we went back to school and finished school, and then I got my letter from the Navy to report to Illinois Institute of Technology, because I was a pre-engineering student, and this was the V-12 program. And so I went to Illinois Tech in July of 1943. And then I have a bunch of pictures here in my album of my days at Illinois Tech. And should I show them? Or?
Is there anything you want that's in there that you want to go on the record? On the video record?
How do you mean? You mean hold it up? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. These are pictures of...
Okay, could we take them out of the binder? You know, just open it up.
Oh, okay. This is all of our... This is where we stayed.
Okay. Okay, and then I'll turn. Okay.
This is our class. All the ones in my class.
This is at the Illinois Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
Okay. Your two buddies are in here?
Yeah. Yeah, they're in there.
Okay. Now it looks like you got to Lake Michigan here.
Yeah, a lot of pictures. I'll kind of piece through them a little bit.
Now, where was home when you were at the Illinois Institute? Was it still in Cleveland?
In Lakewood, Ohio.
Lakewood.
Yeah. My folks lived in Lakewood. This is a picture of the facility where we stayed on Michigan Avenue. That's where they housed the sailors.
Oh, okay. This is Michigan Avenue in Chicago.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And then they got pictures of parade grounds and all that.
Okay.
Anyway, I stayed there for a year. This was an officer's training program, and it was an engineering program. So, being a pre-engineering student, that's why they sent me to there. But then after a while, probably a year and a half later, they started washing people out because they didn't need the officers that much for replacements. So they washed me out, and then I went to Great Lakes from there. And I took my basic training boot camp at Great Lakes. And then from there, Great Lakes sent me to St. Louis to electrician school in St. Louis. And that's a picture where they sent us, they called it the foot of Ferry Street in St. Louis.
Okay.
And our class is on the back here. That's the bunch.
That's the people you went through the school with.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And, okay. We were there 3 months, taking basic electrical training and basic electricity courses. And then from there, we were sent to San Francisco, to the Treasure Island, as they call it. And then 1 month later, they put us on a ship, transport ship, to the Philippines. And so that was back in 1945. 45, yeah. So we arrived, and it took us about 30 days on a transport ship to get to the Philipines.
Was there anything in the passage that...
Yeah, we had a problem with a submarine, with a Japanese submarine. It was a very big ship, so they had some 3-inch guns on both the front and the aft, and they went after that submarine, but they also had a destroyer escort, and he took care of the submarine.
Was that your first time on a ship crossing the ocean?
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Did you run into any bad weather?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And quite a few of us were seasick for 3 days. So we didn't have too much to eat then. In fact, we left it all on the deck.
Yeah.
But it took us 30 days. We stopped at Anahuac, and then we went on to Leyte. And we disembarked in Leyte in May. It's April or May. And then from there, we were assigned with the Seabees, which is a construction battalion under the Navy office. And from there, we were assigned to different stations or different camps in Leyte, the island of Leyte, and the island of Samar. And what I did was, we go and work with the Seabees, which would be doing construction work. We also did maintenance work on electrical generators and searchlights, and even the stoves in the mess halls. And we went back and forth through the islands, and I probably was assigned to maybe 5 or 6 different camps.
What was the circumstance then? I thought that the Japanese still had Leyte at that time.
No, Leyte was secured in October of 44.
Okay.
And then we went in April of 45.
Okay.
So it was secured then.
It was secured?
We saw some Japanese prisoners, and we saw some unloading of the remains of probably some of our boys from the fighting on Leyte, the initial assault. And then Samar and Leyte were both secured after that. But I understand there was still a lot of fighting going on up in Luzon, up and around Manila. And I understand from one of my VFW comrades that he was still fighting in Manila back in '45. And in fact, he got wounded in June of '45. So they were still fighting up there. But we didn't see any other than just the prisoners and things like that.
How were the people, the Philippine people, to you at that point?
Very friendly.
Okay.
Very friendly, yeah. Yeah, we'd have them come in and they'd trade cigarettes, and the CBs used to set up the older fellows in the CBs that set up a still, and they'd try to sell booze to the Philippines. So they were always looking for some kind of a deal, you know, that would break up the monotony, you know, and make a little bit of life worthwhile, we'll say. But yeah, we got along very well with the natives. I had to go into the jungle a few times to trace telephone lines between camps. So there was probably maybe 2 or 3 miles between one camp and another, and they had telephone lines, and many times they would get cut either by maybe a careless Filipino with his bola knife, or they'd step on them, or the water buffalo would get tangled up in them. So we had to go to the jungle and secure those, and then tape up the lines and reconnect the communication. So that was fun, and I always went armed in that because I used to have a 45 and a carbine.
Did you like the jungle?
Did I what?
Did you like it in the jungle?
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't that dense or anything like that, but I usually go alone or with a helper. They drop us off with a landing boat, and we go into parts of the shore that we could get access to, and then we go into there. And then once in a while we'd go by a village where people would, hi, Joe, but through the village sometimes they'd cut the wire too, so we'd have to repair that. That was primarily my job, and then I also stood generator watch and fixed the generators when they broke down. We had to do some searchlight work. One of the camps we were in, we had quite a bit of, it was a big camp, so we had to do a lot of work with the kitchen by fixing stoves and refrigerators, things like that broke down. Other times we lived in what we called was if I have a picture of it here.
Sure.
Was these are all the camps I went into. We stayed at what we called was the Waldorf.
Ah.
It was a floating barge in Leyte that we stayed there, and we had to hook up the main lines into the kitchen there so they could cook meals and everything. We call it the Waldorf Astoria.
Yes. This is a barge that is...
Yeah, it's a barge. It was parked up in one of the islands in Leyte there.
Yeah.
In fact, the name is right on there, Waldorf Astoria, on the barge.
Oh, yeah.
See it?
Yep.
We stayed there a few months.
What did they feed you while you were...
Good food.
Good food?
Yeah. Very good food. The Navy always fed their sailors very well. And we always had a real good restaurant, or we might call a restaurant, a mess hall, and very good cooks, things like that. In fact, I ran across one of my buddies who was in the Army, and he was in the infantry, and he came over, and I had him come over and have eat with me, and he couldn't believe the food that we had, as compared to his canteen mess kit.
Right.
Because we had trays, you know, big trays, and they just pile them up for us. He just couldn't believe it, so he stayed with me a couple of days just to get some good food.
Did you have any uniquely Filipino food that you ate while you were there and enjoyed?
No, we couldn't get out into the villages at all, or into Tacloban, which is the main city in Leyte. They kept us pretty much on our bases, except the time when I went through the village to maybe trace those telephone lines. But other than that, we were pretty much kept enclosed to the bases.
About how many men do you think were on your base? Just to...
Oh, probably 200 or 300.
Okay, so...
And then we also, the electricians were also assigned to a recreation center in Leyte, and we had where the 7th Fleet would come in, and they'd have we had to maintain the refrigerators that kept the bars and everything like that for the officers open, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, we had to make sure that those were working right, and then it was interesting because the officers would have a nice sheltered, big 100-foot bar with all the accoutrements that went with it, and they'd have cabanas out by the water, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then next door, probably 200 or 300 feet down, was the non-commissioned officers. They had a couple of tables like this,
right,
with the beer on. And then down farther was for the enlisted personnel. They had baseball courts and badminton and things like that for them, and no beer, just, you know, or swimming.
I thought they gave them 3-2 beer in World War II.
Only on shore base. You could buy it in the store, the ship store, but not aboard ships. Okay. So the guys would come in from the ship and they'd want to buy from us, so we'd sell it to them.
Make a profit?
No. No, we just sell them cigarettes and beer.
Did you witness the fleet at anchor there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It was out pretty far, of course, because this was a sandy beach and everything, so it was shallow. But yeah, we witnessed them, and then after the war, we witnessed a lot of Japanese destroyers coming back with their personnel and people like that, and they would anchor out in the bay, and we'd take one of these landing barges and go out and go around the ship and look at them and things like that. They looked in pretty bad shape, and they had women aboard, probably from families and things like that. So they were looking in pretty bad shape. They weren't too happy.
I would guess not.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what, on this base, I imagine there was a lot of coming and going between people and different fleets and stuff like that. So was there ever anybody, that the public would recognize, like a MacArthur or anybody who passed through there while you were? There
might have been, but we weren't aware of them because we were busy doing our job, And at night, I remember picking up, I had a 45, which I was on guard duty at that time. And when I went through some of the cabanas, I ran across one of my executive officers from the Illinois Tech, and he was pretty plastered. So I had to take him back to, we had a Jeep with us, and I had to take him back to his camp, which was just down the road a little bit from the recreation center, and that was a staging area to send a lot of the people back home. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
But anyway.
Okay. What else?
What else? Yeah.
No.
I just have pictures of various camps that we were at.
Okay.
That's all, and then the Filipinos that we talk to and some of their villages and things like that. I've got a whole lot of pictures, but
The Filipinos you talked to, how did they feel about the Japanese?
oh man, they hated them. Yeah,
Okay.
they were glad to see us. They and some of them, I understand, some of the villages had, if they caught some of the Japanese, they would behead them and put their heads on poles. Even after the war, they'd catch them with, you know, some of the stragglers from the forests and things like that, and they'd catch them, and they were pretty cruel with them.
Well, how long did you stay at this base here in Leyte? I know you said
Probably 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3
Yeah,
months.
then they move us to another one in Samar. And
Where
then-
is Samar? Is that just like?
That's another island.
Okay.
Leyte is the first island that you run across, and Samar is right behind it.
Okay.
It's a bigger island than Leyte. So I don't think there was too much fighting from there because most of it was done at Leyte,
Mhm.
and then was moved up north toward Manila. But but I probably was assigned to maybe 5 or 6 camps, both between Leyte and Samar. Samar was a big depot for picking up supplies, things like that. So we'd have to drive there, take a landing barge with our Jeep, and then go into the part of Samar that had the big depots, the things where we could pick up supplies. In Samar also they had a big a skeleton area where all the planes were parts and damaged planes and ones like that were stored, and that was right on the ocean. So that was interesting too.
Sure.
We saw the planes. They still had a lot of their machine guns and bullets and things like that on them, but they, you know, dismantled those.
Right.
But that was kind of interesting. I'm almost through.
Well, no. Were there any unique occurrences that you can remember that would be of interest to the people? And what was the toughest part of your job
The toughest part?
while you were in the Philippines?
Oh, probably, I would say it was boring, actually. That was toughest because you had to sit and watch generators for hours. And as soon as these were big General Motors generators, they were probably as big as this room. They were diesels. And as you had to make sure they wouldn't run out of diesel fuel, so you had to keep them up. And then also if they had a bank of maybe 2 or 3 generators, you'd have to synchronize them so they would be on together, you know, run together, so they wouldn't have this, they wouldn't have the electricity going from one and in a different phase with another. So you'd have to synchronize them so they're phased in.
What were you supplying energy to?
Well, like the Waldorf,
Okay.
different bases that had different camps that had restaurants and the mess halls and all that, and then living quarters for all the sailors that would come in, would be there, you know, they'd be stationed there or move out. So that's would be the extent of the need for electricity. It's just like a small city, some of the bases
Yeah.
were.
Was the electricity dependable at this point, or, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
is it like we witness today? You know, lights are bright and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was very dependable. I mean,
Very
the
dependable.
generators were well-built generators, yeah. And if we didn't screw up and, you know, and let them run out or something, yeah, we kept them going, so, yeah, it was no problems with electricity or power or anything like that.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I didn't realize that we had done that. You know, and my only exposure to World War II is World War II movies and talking to people like yourself. But I didn't realize we had that much generating capacity on these planes. places, you know, like in Leyte.
Mhm.
That's very, it's enlightening.
Yeah, those were very big generators, very
Yeah.
big. Yeah, General Motors, as I recall, it was all General Motors types of equipment.
Then once you were here in Leyte and some more, when did you know that your tour duty over there was finished?
Well, at the, you know, when Japan surrendered, then the various, our officers would come out and say that they had points. You'd be given points for your tour of duty for the length of service in the United States Navy, and what tour you did overseas, and that would be so much points. And so you'd be sent, you know, be able to send home on points. So I was discharged, I was sent home in May of '46, and then I was discharged at the end of May from Cleveland, Ohio, from the main base there. But it was strictly on points.
Okay.
So that every month that you were overseas, you got so many more points than if you were stateside. Yeah.
When you first heard that the United States had dropped an atomic bomb,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think?
I was glad. Yeah, I was glad we would bring this war to an end.
Did
And if
you
it-
know what an atomic bomb was?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I heard it after they did it, yes. Yeah, it was devastating, but that's what it take to bring the war to an end. It was needed. Plus the fact that, you know, this buddy of mine in the Army, he was getting kind of concerned about where he was going to go next, you know, toward Japan. And it was kind of a godsend that was the end of the war and he could go home. Otherwise, he would have been scheduled to go to Japan. That would have been the next plan of operation. And of course, we would have followed too into that hornet's nest.
Do you recall where you were when you heard that we had used such a weapon?
Yeah, I was on Samara then.
Yeah, but I mean, was it just kind of casual? I mean, it's a big deal to us nowadays.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the people who were living there, you know, when you heard, you know, they used an atomic bomb, did that mean anything to the people there? Your buddies and so forth?
Not that much, no.
Not that much.
But you mean the enormity of the bomb itself?
Right, I mean,
And the devastation that could have caused from it?
yeah.
Well, it's sad, you know, that we had to use it. But everybody, all the buddies that I talked to, I mean, it was wonderful that we would end the war, and we wouldn't be any more involved in, you know, any more of the involved in that type of operation where we might be losing more of our own people. And so I think it was a good thing. I know it's not a solution, but it helped us. And we thanked President Truman for making that decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When the Japanese surrendered, and I believe it was at Manila that they did that, were you aware of this happening?
Yes, well, the first occurrence I was aware of with Japanese was in our camp, we had a Japanese colonel come in, and he was scheduled to take a boat, one of these, it wasn't a PT boat, but it was like a patrol boat, with some Americans up into the backwoods and up into the various rivers and everything that went back into the jungle more to with a loudspeaker to convince any Japanese that were still holed up that that was the end of the war and that they had to surrender. And then after that, then we found that when I mentioned the destroyers coming into the bay, those were from the Japanese fleet that was out there, was brought in. But that was the first we became aware of, you know, the Japanese, of this colonel who would, that was his mission, to go up and convince other Japanese soldiers to surrender. And some of them came down, and there was some, I have a picture of some of them marching through the streets.
Can you,
What?
did you find the picture, or?
I didn't find it, no. Yes.
Well, just take your time.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay.
That's a group of Japanese.
Oh, yeah. These are a column of Japanese prisoners walking through the street. Large group of people there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of them.
Yeah, there was quite a few, but then this is, that was boarding and going home. That was some of the old recreation areas that we went.
Okay.
Yeah. This one here is where they had, that's where a bunch of us first heard of Oklahoma. It was presented to the Navy, the Oklahoma musical.
Yes.
On that.
Looks like half a Quonset hut.
Yeah, it was a Quonset hut with a bunch of chairs.
With a bunch of chairs, yeah.
Yeah, Seabees. We sat on logs.
Okay.
And watched the production.
And this is when they were getting ready to, they were disembarking ship, ready to go home.
Yeah.
Did,
got a bunch of natives in here.
if, it's only if you think it would add to our discussion here. Your friends that you developed, or that you went in with, when you enlisted, did they both make it back too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they in fact become naval flyers?
One became a flyer, and I met him back at, when we had a reunion at Baldwin Wallace, maybe 3 years or 4 years after the war.
Okay.
And he had his wings. And nice guy, real nice guy. Used to play football with him. But and then the ones I had at Illinois Tech, I ran across a couple of those after the war too. They called me up and we went out together a few times.
Did you make any lasting
with those
friendships while you were in
with
there?
those people? No.
Okay.
You kind of drift away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you come back, you go back to your other folks.
Right.
What is the thing you liked the most about the military?
Probably the I think the camaraderie that we experienced. Yeah. You were all together, working together to try to make it better on either the camps or the conditions that you were involved in. And we all kind of felt like a team. We had no problems as far as discipline. I was in charge of a group of maybe 5 or 6 electricians that I worked with. And we had no discipline problems, no problems that way. Even the older Seabees that were there were probably getting close to 35 years old. And some of them were from the South, and electricians from the South. And we just had a real enjoyable experience. Yeah.
What is the thing you liked the least about the military?
Well, the part that you couldn't do anything without, without being given permission to.
Mhm.
And there was always probably an officer that thought he was a little better than the rest of us. But the men in general were very good. We were very good companions, very good teamwork, very good attitude.
How did you get back to the States? By ship?
What?
How did you get back to the States?
By transport.
By
Yeah.
transport?
Mhm.
One that was chock full of people coming back, or?
Yeah, we went to Manila to pick up some soldiers up there, or some Marines actually. And then we stopped at Ulithi, I think it was, and picked up some more, and then brought them back to San Francisco. So we had quite a boatload. Then I stopped off in San Francisco and saw my sister who was living there. She was a former Red Cross worker.
Yeah.
And in fact, she saw more action than I did. She drove an ambulance to the Battle of the Bulge.
Oh my goodness. Ooh.
And the ambulance ahead of her got hit by a German shell.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, blew it right to pieces.
Oh.
But she lived in San Francisco. I stopped there on the way home.
How'd you get home from San Francisco?
By train.
By train?
Yeah.
And did your family meet you at the train station?
Yeah,
or?
my father was waiting for me
Oh, that's
at
nice.
Cleveland, Ohio terminal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
And then what did you do?
then I went back to school.
Okay. At
Yeah.
Baldwin Wallace?
Yes. I finished out at Baldwin Wallace. We were on the GI Bill,
Mm-hmm.
and that gave me 3 years of schooling, and so I was able to finish my 4 years of schooling. But I didn't stay in engineering.
What
I was in pre-med.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
I
went
was
to pre-med?
psychology and
Oh, okay.
biology, things like that.
Okay,
I
and
was
then,
more involved in that.
and then what did you do to make a living after you got out of school?
I sold, I worked for Squibb and sold pharmaceuticals
Oh,
for
okay.
maybe 5 or 6 years, and
Okay,
then went into other things.
okay,
Yeah. I wanted to show those.
sure.
There's I've got some letters here. But here's a certificate of award for in the Philippines. They gave everybody that was in the Philippines at that time, they gave a Presidential Unit Citation Award,
Okay,
which is what that is. And so on your uniform and the
okay, let me just read this. It says General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Iguando, Quezon City, the Philippines, Certificate of Award in recognition of the military services of Edward C. Allinger during World War II and pursuant to Armed Forces of the Philippine Regulations, G131-053, dated July 1st, 1986. He is awarded and authorized to wear the World War II Victory Medal, Asia Pacific Campaign Medal. Those are 2 different medals. Okay.
yeah.
And this was presented in 1998.
Yeah, yeah, I just got it lately.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, and then here's the that's the Philippine medal there.
Oh, okay.
Those are the others that are European Theater, Asiatic Pacific,
Okay.
Navy Good Conduct. What's the other one? Philippine and Navy medal.
Navy medal.
Yeah.
Now, were you a part of the Seabees?
Yes, I was attached to the Seabees.
Okay, but you weren't officially a Seabee.
Well, at that time,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't go in as a Seabee.
Okay.
You know, I went in the regular Navy.
Right.
But then I went to electrician school, and so they transferred me into that's where their need was for people
Right.
in the Philippines to take the place of a lot of the older Seabees that were sent home.
Oh, yes.
So we were transferred into the CB battalion
Right.
at the Philippines.
Okay.
And that's what reads on my discharge papers too.
Okay. Do we see your discharge?
Oh, yeah, well, this is the separation papers.
Oh, it's separation.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah. And then here's honorable discharge.
okay. This is where he was separated from active service. And, he said, you can go home now.
Right.
You're right. Okay. And this is,
That's a discharge.
this is the official discharge. There are many of these passed out, and this is on the 12th of May, 1946. So, how was your mail and your communication with your family while you were in the Philippines?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother kept all my letters.
Oh, okay.
There's a bundle here, quite a few bundles. But I tried to write my parents probably once every week or maybe every 2 weeks.
Right.
And so she kept all my letters. And then my father would write me, and so she kept all his letters too.
Sure.
So I have a bundle here of letters that I don't know if they want to.
I think
Look
that
at
would be
them, or-
too much for what they're looking for.
You know, the first thing I saw just the other day when I was looking at my separation papers, and I thought this is interesting. Amount of premium due each month. They charge this for insurance. $6.50
A month.
a month for insurance.
For how much coverage, do you remember?
I think it was about $10,000.
Right.
I never remembered that at all. I thought, my gosh, talk about
Yeah. You would figure they'd have just given you that.
Yeah, right. Oh man, I hope they don't do that for the guys over in Iraq.
Right.
Jeez.
When you were coming back from the war, were you in a big fleet that was coming back at the same time?
Any what?
Was that a big fleet that you sailed back with, or were you all by yourself?
No, just the one big boat.
Just the one big boat.
Yeah, the one big boat that picked up. Most of the people, I think, were back by then.
Oh,
This was in May of '46.
Yeah.
So most of the sailors and soldiers and Marines were back by then.
Okay.
So we were probably some of the last ones to leave the Philippines and the Philippine area.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you would like to get on the record here?
I'll probably think of a dozen things when I get home.
If there's anything else you would like to, just to get on the record.
I joined being a veteran.
Yes.
I'm a member of the VFW 4659 of Shelby Township. And in Shelby Township, 3 years ago, the supervisor asked that any residents in Shelby Township that are interested in joining their veterans committee. And so I told them I'd like to join. And I also asked some other people in my VFW class who were residents of Shelby Township if they would like to join too. And so that's what we've got here. This is a memorial of the Shelby Township.
It says Shelby Township Veterans Committee.
Yeah, and the Veterans Committee is, and we
Right.
try to be involved with the May Day, with the Memorial Day services, and all of anything else that involves veterans
Mhm.
in in Shelby Township. There's about 10 of us that are members.
Oh, very good.
Okay?
Yep.
So that's why I wore this today.
Sure.
So I'm involved in some veterans groups,
Okay.
promoting the veterans' rights and things like that.
Are you planning on going to Washington DC to see the World War II Memorial?
No, I'm not planning on it.
Okay.
The veterans group, the VFW group, was going to send 2,
Okay.
and we did it by chance, you know, in the hat, so
Right.
to speak, if you put your name in. But I didn't put my name in. Reason being, I didn't see any action, and I would rather have the veterans who saw action or involved in, like this one I talked about, who went in D-Day and went through all of Europe. And so, and they were going to pay their way for 2 veterans. So that would be fine if they chose him.
Sure.
So I'd like to see it, but I can see it some other time.
Oh, yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, right.
You know,
It's supposed to be quite a doing. It's a whole month is planned.
yes,
Yeah. Gonna
Yeah.
be real nice.
you know, what is it, the end of May is the
Yeah,
official
end of
opening.
May, right.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, if there's nothing else that we can think of,
That's all I got.
then I'd like to thank you for coming in and doing this with us.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure.
And as I said, this will end up in the Library of Congress and be part of our national history.
Good.
Thank you
Thanks
very
very
much.
much. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Joe. Okay.